Hey, peace, love and light to you all, family. Welcome to another YouTube video with me, your host, Mathics Mahlangu. Now, in today's video, we're going to be talking about the ego. It's very important that you know about the ego if you are on a conscious journey, spiritually walking towards enlightenment of your own self. It's very important that you know what the ego is. Now, I say a conscious journey because all of us, all humanity, all beings, all living things are on a spiritual journey. The quest, which is the question. That's where you get question from. The question is the quest. Once you ask the question, you begin the quest. And the biggest question is why? Why creation? Why this? How is this possible? These are the questions. And then we are the answer. As humanity, as life, we are the answer to the greatest questions. The questions of how existence is even possible. So we are here piecing together very complex issues that pertain to the nature of existence. So now, before we talk about the ego, I'd first of all like to thank the people who have donated. I got another donation today. Someone sent me, it was anonymous, I don't know who it is. They sent me 111 rand, so that's cool. And then 2 weeks back, there's a queen Mapifo. She sent me 1,000 rand as a donation towards my YouTube to buying my starter up kit for voiceovers, podcasts, and making more YouTube videos. So thank you to those people. And also, don't forget, I'm going to leave my banking details in the description if maybe you also would like to contribute. So now with that out of the way, let's get into the conversation about the ego. So now when we're talking about the ego, what are we talking about here? It's more than Beyonce and Kanye West in a song. You've got a big ego, such a huge ego. In spirituality, the ego is different than what the ego is said to be, in the Western way, like how they describe the ego. The ego is basically the identification with the self, or the identification rather with the body, with the vessel. So that I, in the Bible, when they say that God says that I am, when he's talking to Moses, and he's saying to Moses, when Moses was asking, who shall I say sent me? And then God said, tell them that I am has sent me, for that is my name now, and that forever shall be who I am, because God is the great I am. Meaning, if you look at the words I am, there's a primary thing in there. There's the I, and then there's the am, and whatever you say after that, those are, I would say that those are the effects. The I is primary. It's the Atman, it's the self. That's that one. It's the I. It's universal. So it's the universal consciousness. Now, the ego comes in with what we place above that I. You see, so if you say, I'm a doctor, and that's all that you identify yourself as, you are in a level of ego. So ego is basically attachment to certain things, to certain psychological states. Those are also known as egos. So the 7 deadly sins: lust, jealousy, envy, greed, sloth, pride, those would be considered the egos, because each of these egos are living entities, which you could also call demonic possession, because a thought form eventually becomes something that has a life of its own. So certain habits begin to create certain thought forms that now are independent outside of you, the one who created them. So you might have a bad habit of smoking, right? And then the reason why you find it so hard to leave smoking is that the entity that you've already created with smoking, when you do certain things, now it's the one that has the craving when you want to let go. So these are known as the egos. So pride, it creates a certain entity in you. So when you identify with these things, it is known as the ego. So thought identification with particular things, that is what ego is. The you that you think you are. There is the primary you. That's what we call the essence, the pure consciousness. It's consciousness unattached It's consciousness at the level of the crown. It's consciousness experiencing things, observing things, but not attaching itself to things. So if you see a pretty flower and you're like, that is beautiful, and you enjoy it for what it is, and then you move on, the moment you see a beautiful flower and you want to pick it up and possess it for yourself, that's ego. Because the moment you take it out of the ground, you kill it. Even if you're gonna go put it in a small pot, but now you have identified with that, like, oh no, now I possess you. So the possession of things, the possession of a spouse, it's mine. It's my girlfriend. It's my boyfriend. You see, yes, they are your girlfriend, your boyfriend. That's true. Yeah, it's mine, me. That's ego. There's nothing wrong with having and identifying yourself with things, but it's just a matter of how you identify. There's healthy identification, and then there's one that's just purely not healthy, which leads to jealousy, which leads to envy, to possessiveness. You see, so that's ego at the most extreme level. So ego is not necessarily a bad thing, because the ego is your identity in the physical. When I say I'm Mathics, that's my ego, because it's not really me. I'm not really Mathics. You see, I'm not esoteric Muruti on Twitter. I'm not that entity. This is what I am projecting myself as. This is my avatar. It's what I'm acting as. The script being my zodiac sign, where my placements are. So though that would be my script, my particular mannerisms, my behaviorisms are dictated by the planetary placements, the angles of light, or the angels of light, the messengers that tell me how to act in this body as the light hit at different angles and bend and then touch certain neurons. I behave in certain ways. But for me to now awaken to true spirituality, I have to rise above the identity that I've created for myself and go beyond the self to no self. Hence, when you see people, especially when you have a psychedelic experience, when you take mushrooms, for an example, magic mushrooms, there's something known as an ego death. So what happens is that, especially in the high dosages, from your 6 grams, even your 5 grams, it could do this. When you're in those states, and you can tap into these states naturally, mushrooms and marijuana, all these things are just tools to just show you things that are natural to you, that you can tap and access, right? So, am I still recording here? I've had many instances where I'm recording and I'm speaking for 20 minutes only to find that it stopped at like 10 minutes. So painful. So when you're in these states, you lose the sense of I'm me. All of a sudden you are one with everything. You could think of someone and they don't just come as a thought in your brain. They come as a feeling in your heart, and you don't only feel or think about them, but for some moments you actually become that person. And this is why psychedelics help heal, and they call them the doctors, because they are healers. They help you reach points of perception that you naturally wouldn't. It would take years of meditation when you now reflect. So such verses as love your neighbor as you love yourself, those are ego killing verses. Those are verses that talk about the ego and its death, because your neighbor is yourself. And in those states, you actually get to experience it. You actually get to experience that you are one with all, right? Because if you break it down, it's the body, it's the whole organism. You break that down, you're going to get organs, and then you're going to get tissues, and then you're going to get cells, and then you're going to break those cells down, you're going to get atoms. And then if you break that down, now they've found even smaller particles, they call them quarks. And if you go even further down than that, there's just purely energy. And the energy is identical. So the blueprint to what we all are is energy. We are that energy, that universal divine mind, which is known as divine intelligence. So we are all a product of that. And as that energy is now manifesting itself, atoms begin to create things differently, expressing the consciousness that is inhabiting the particular vessel of that time. So everything manifested in the universe is consciousness manifested as that thing. So you would say that if you see a kangaroo, that's the mind of God projecting a certain band of light to manifest itself via sound resonance, because everything is sound slowed down. So a certain sound vibrates a certain vessel. You see, and so now the reason why humans are supreme in intellect and even in the design, having an opposable thumb, is because the resonance vibrates at a higher level. Hence, we have all the chakras and we stand erect, looking upwards, whereas animals are horizontal. So we are the rainbow bridge, the span or the gap between the spiritual and the physical. You see, so now when you only identify, when you only think that you are the physical being, you are trapped in ego. Ego is what shuts away that higher version of you, the true essence, the true you. That you. So you are here waiting for some dude to come on a cloud to save you. That's ego. It's lazy. You're lazy to do the work. You're lazy to meditate. You know, you believe that someone literally physically died for you and now they're going to come back and save you. And you, in the meantime, you just have to go to your work and be a good person. Don't swear, don't drink, don't have sex. And then you think you're going to gain heaven. These are the stories that the ego has told itself in order to make you comfortable in the false order of things. Whereas you need to break away the ego by chaos. You need to shatter it. An ego death. Because as I was saying, in those states where your brain is highly infused with DMT during certain psychedelic episodes, what happens is that you lose the sense of I'm just me, and all of a sudden you are one with everything. And it's not just a thought, it's an actual reality. Remember the energy. Now, because when you are when you're on mushrooms, what happens is that you go into the inner worlds, you go into the quantum worlds, you go into the ethereal places. And in those places, we are much more connected because things are much more subtle there. You are much more sensitive. So you feel things for what they really are. Whereas the more physical and the more slowed down and the more compacted the atoms get, the more forgetting there is, because now you are dealing in a physical body. And then this physical body creates ideas that you identify with. I'm a nurse. I'm a rapper. I'm a trader. Whatever job it is. When you identify with that, you are in ego. Do things, but don't identify with things. Love people, don't attach to people. Doesn't mean when you're not attached, you don't love them. Don't attach. As I'm saying, there's unhealthy ways of doing things. Love, but don't attach. You know, because if you attach, and then when people pass away, some people, they cannot even handle it. They go into deep states of grief, you know, whereas they even take their own lives because there's that attachment. You need to get to yourself, you need to get to a level of the crown of understanding that everyone is a spirit on their own unique journey. And then as a collective, we are also on a journey. So we are one entity experiencing itself in multiple facets, in multiples of ways. But when you identify with the ways and the aspects that intelligence is expressing itself as, you are in ego. Don't identify with the things. Observe and enjoy the things for what they are. The moment you identify with them, it's a problem. That's why they say that empty mind, full room. Empty room, full mind. What does that mean? In the ancient times, if you look at Africa, they lived very simple lives. The Dogon people, for example, if you go there, you know, they live in huts and whatnot, but their knowledge of the cosmos and the secrets of existence in here full. They did not need a lot of these external things. They don't need a plane to fly. You can astral travel. It's how these cultures all across the world had similar things, similar information, similar buildings, structures, pyramids, monuments, stone tablets. All these things, they were similar because they could remote dream. They could interact on a higher telepathic level. They do not need the physical vessel or side of things. But nowadays, someone has 10 cars outside. It's a big room. They've got this mansion, all these fancy things. Nothing in here. You can't even hold a conversation with them because full room, empty mind. Now, am I saying don't have things outside? No, I'm not saying that. But most of the time, people who just have a lot of things, that's why they say, seek ye first the kingdom of God, which is the mind. And all these things will be added onto you. Because usually if you get things without understanding that it is your mind or your own consciousness that allows you to be able to get these things, you identify with the things, and then you never bridge that line of understanding that you are the manifester of those things via your thoughts and your inner being. So you identify with the things outside. So then you become an idol worshiper. You worship cars, you worship famous people, you worship celebrities, you envy them. I want to be like them. Oh, everything is external because you do not understand that it's internal, projected outwards. So everything is a reflection of your inner worlds. So if you don't understand that, you are in ego. You are dealing in ego. You are lost in the world. You are lost in the world. It's like you go to the internet. I'll give you an example. You go on YouTube, right? You want to search a specific video of how to do something. All of a sudden you see a video pop up. And then you're like, let me quickly watch this. And then and then after you watch that, it suggests something else, and then you watch that. And then 3 hours later, you're like, Kana, what did I come here for? That's the same thing. That's what's happening with the human experience. It's like we are lost in the vast internet. We are lost in the vast web of the cosmos. We came here for a specific task, but then we got lost in the in surfing and in surfing the net, the physical net, in the planet. We got lost here, trapped here via the ego. Oh, I gotta go do this, I gotta work here. You come back in another lifetime, oh, I gotta be a doctor. You come back in another lifetime, oh, I wanna be a singer. You do that, and then you never feel fulfilled. Because the true purpose of what you're here to do is awaken the God within you and tap into the essence, into the true nature, and become God realized, self-realized. That's the purpose. Everything else is secondary. Everything else is secondary. It's the effects. And if you identify with the effects, you are in ego. Mine, it's me. It belongs to me. It belongs to me. It is my property. You see, so the wars of the world that you see, all of these things, that's ego on a mass level. That's ego on a mass level. So in a nutshell, that's what ego is, family. The identification with thoughts, the identification with things. Your ego is important, but you need to tame it. It's what needs to be tamed. It's the beast. You need to tame it, or else then it controls you. It controls you. All these bad thoughts when you're paranoia, anxiety, all these are the different levels of the ego. Remember I told you that when I was talking about that mythological story. When I told you about that mythological story about how they say that we came here from a different planet, and so we got trapped here and we got lost. We lost track of time. And so what happened is that the soul slept, right? While we were fermenting. And as the soul slept, we went through a series of dreams. This is a series of dreams that we call reality. And now we started identifying with those series of dreams. And that is what is known also as the ego, the identification with these series of dreams. Because the soul is sleeping. Go outside and look at people. Really, people watch, and you'll see that something is wrong. Sometimes you can feel it. It's almost so tangible. The zombiness. These horror movies they make about zombies and people being flesh eaten. That's people outside. It's the zombies here. People outside walking zombies. Literally, the walking dead, because they are dead in spirit. And if the spirit is the source, and the origin of things, and you're not tapped into that, then everything, it means you are daydreaming. You are literally daydreaming. That's why they call it an awakening. I'm woke. I love how people just use it loosely these days. I mean, I'm woke. I had some guy tell me. I have many people. Yeah, I'm woke. It's so funny. Oh, it's funny, but it's not something that you just say. It's something that you experience. You can't read 2 books and then you are woke. It's a personal experience with the inner God. And if you never actually come into seeking ways in which you could do that, then most of your life you'll be trapped in ego, which is also dealing with the lower chakras of survival, sex, and power. So yeah, family, peace, much love and light to you all. Remember to subscribe to the channel and like it and share it. And yeah, man, just know that you are important. You are important. If you were not important, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be here. So your task, your job is to find your purpose, your unique purpose. Write your own test. I was talking with my aunt on the phone earlier, and she's like, yo, you gotta write your own test. Stop looking at other people's exams. Your life is a test. It's an exam. So you gotta look at your own paper and, fill in the script, man, because you never know. Someone else might have a different paper, and then you think that you're copying someone else's question too. So look, it's worded differently, you see. So do you are eternal. You have all of eternity to get it right. Don't rush. Where are you rushing to? Well, there's no rushing in eternity. You have all time. But you could be trapped here for a long time if you are trapped by the ego, because it could keep you coming back here. Keep on thinking that there's all these material things that you need to achieve. I gotta leave a legacy. I gotta, you could do that. But if you identify with that and then you shun away, or you put away, like, no, I'll deal. I've had some people like, yo, I'm gonna only do the spiritual things when I'm old. I'm like, and what you gonna be doing in the meantime? Ego running. The ego is gonna be running things in the meantime. Like, yeah, no, I wanna, gotta when I get a job, get settled, knowing this is not gonna put food on my table. What's this knowledge gonna do for me? What? It's like if you seek knowledge, then you can't do other things. Like, so you completely put it off. Like, no, I don't have time for that. It's too much when I'm old. But then again, man, the journey is not the same, so we don't get to the top of the mountain the same way. But I'm saying that, like, your knowledge of self is important. You can never put that away. You can never shun that away, because eventually it's gonna come. Like, you're gonna come looking for yourself. So yeah, family, peace, much love and light to you all. And don't forget to support the boy. Let's do this. Don't forget to support the boy. As I said, I'm gonna leave my banking details in the description, so you could just donate whatever amount that you feel that your heart wants to donate. So thank you very much, family. Peace, much love and light to you all.
I said to stay would have not been cool, so I had to leave because you had to grow. A sacrifice just to let you go. Don't you know that you were the death of my ego?